Will is back.
I am back. Well, actually, I was on. Rich exiled me. I couldn't get the hair just right, and he's like, "Come back when you get it right again." And I finally got it this morning. I had to send pictures for pre-approval, and I'm back. This is awesome.
Thank God.
How you been, brother?
I've been good, man. A long time
Good.
no see. I mean, we throw
Yeah,
texts around all the time, but
yeah. It's been crazy for me. Been working a lot. Good family stuff. Nothing bad. Good family stuff. Just busy and finally settling down. I'm here this week. Next week I'm out. Little family vacay, and then after that we should be back to regular Monday mornings, brother.
good. Uh, Dr. Fuller and I have been providing bread and circuses to the people while you were gone. But people have been like, hey, man, we need the eye candy back. We
Uh,
need the eye candy back. And here he is. You're
I get
welcome.
that a lot when I'm gone from someplace for a while. It gets a little old, but public service and all that.
Yes, sir. You are definitely providing a public service this morning.
So,
Thank you to the two folks watching already,
all
jumping
right.
on. We've got a fantastic show for you today. We're going to talk about the whole Venezuela thing. Will is going to catch us up on the markets and where it's heading in 2026.
Hmm.
Alan Kelly is on from triple occupied Virginia. Man, how do you get triple occupied?
Man, elections have consequences. What can we say, right?
They sure do, man.
Yeah,
I,
they
I,
sure do.
I would
I
hate
see.
to move from Tennessee again. My ancestors founded this place. Captain William Bean was the first white settler in what is now the great state of Tennessee, and he was my great grandfather.
Mhm.
Created Bean Station. He was a friend of Daniel Boone.
Awesome.
So it would take a lot for me to move out of the state. But man, I tell you what, triple occupied, Alan, I may
Ooh.
have to pack my crap.
Yeah, might have to look at that. So I see Tony's on. Awesome, good to see you. Alan's on. He actually test. Wow, let me try English. He texted me yesterday asking if I was going to be back. So very timely inquiry on your part, sir. And we're going to kick it off with Venezuela, which Alan was asking me about. Rich is handling that one. I honestly have only followed the kind of edges of that one. I
Yeah.
do have a few things to throw in there. So there's some stuff getting thrown around there about oil and gold, of course. Gold isn't so much out there. Oil a lot is the big talk. And I'm sure you'll touch on that, brother.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, we're definitely going to touch on it. Will Rhodes is on. Come on, Will. He is coin number 2269. If you're like, I keep hearing this coin stuff. I don't know what this
Yeah.
is, guys. I'm
What is that?
confused. I don't
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
Click the links in today's show notes and become a member of our coined self-preservation community. We've got everything from white belt to blue belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We've got medical with Dr. Dan Olesnicki, a SWAT doctor and ER physician, walk you through medical stuff. We've partnered with Atomic Athlete to keep you fitter with our Warrior One fitness program. We have handgun, shotgun, rifle, carbine, low light. It's all in there for the taking, folks. Sign up and become a member as soon as possible. Johnny King is on from Kentucky, and without any further ado, I like this little infographic.
Yep.
Maduro has been snatched,
Mm-hmm.
but why do it? And that's kind of the first thing is they were designated as a narco terrorist back in I think 2020. He faced
Yep.
several federal charges, and
Mm-hmm.
from narco terrorism to conspiracy to cocaine importation. There was some machine gun charges. Dr. Fuller sent me the indictment this morning. I read over it. This is a 25-year public career that's orchestrated all this trafficking and cocaine to the United States, and some of our viewers have mentioned it, and I think they're right. Blowing up of the drug boats heading this way. I mean, if they were carrying in Semtex or Comp B or some explosive, we would
Mm-hmm.
recognize it for what it is and want this stopped. But I think people see the drugs and they don't translate it to 100,000 Americans dead,
Yep.
And that is the truth of the matter.
Absolutely. And it's also all the other resources we have to put into that. 100,000 dead is, of course, the most tragic part of that. But how many medical resources get put into that? How
True.
much of the payment for those medical resources come from federal, state, local governments and burn up the resources that those hospitals have, especially if you're a more rural area?
Well, yeah, and that's a great point. So it's a second, third order effects. Why are Venezuelans fleeing this as we'll discuss today, mineral rich country that should be one of the, the Switzerland of the Western Hemisphere.
Mhm.
Why are they fleeing? Because of crap like this.
Mhm.
So, but it's funny. I find these memes hilarious. Trade your
Mhm.
Palestinian flags for Venezuelan flags here. I mean,
That's a good one.
again,
Yeah.
I'm pro oxygen, sweet liberals for a bag of their head. It's
Well, and I found stuff from Chuck Schumer and others, in 2020, Trump doesn't take Maduro out because dictators stick together.
that's right.
It's
He
like,
did say that.
yeah, I watched the video of it. I'm like, are you kidding me? Seriously. I mean, it's so transparent. My bride and I were having a discussion about that the other night, and she follows some more left-leaning stuff on Facebook and see stuff there you don't see anywhere else, and vice versa. And it's important to follow all those things, even the ones that annoy you really badly.
I 100% agree with that, man. You have to look at what they're saying to triangulate some semblance of the truth,
Mm-hmm.
and be aware of what the other side is saying quietly. Because if you don't know, how can you prepare for it? Bruce is on. Kyle is on. Good morning,
Good to
folks.
see you, Kyle.
Please,
Good to see you, Bruce.
please like and hit that share button, guys. And I think you just teed me up for my next thing, and that is when Biden got in office, what did he do? They were
Nothing.
already declared a narco state, and he sends Kerry to deal with him in Egypt in 2022 over freaking climate change. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And this picture down here, desperate for oil, there's the president of France cozying up to Maduro.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, thank you, President Trump, for freeing us from social. Shh, that wasn't real socialism.
Yeah.
My
It's
Donnie's
the
gonna show
warmth
us
of
what that is.
collectivism, Rich. It's not
We're going to come to
socialism.
that, buddy.
Okay, awesome.
You bet your ass we're coming to that. That's one of the most disgusting things I've ever heard. Anyway, but here's the kind of the timeline of Venezuela. If Bernie Sanders praises you, buddy, you got a car wreck coming. You're just waiting for the mess, and of course that's what happened. That once they privatized healthcare, took the guns away, made higher education free.
Mm-hmm.
Then they started imprisoning opposition leaders. Then food and healthcare shortages became widespread. Then the Constitution and elections are suspended, and then they massacre unarmed. So this is the same crap we've seen, and
Was
this.
that China or Venezuela, or was that
Shockingly,
Cambodia, or was that? It's hard to tell after a while, right?
It's the same template, bro.
Yeah.
It's like if you plant, if I go out there and plant corn in the ground, don't be surprised when corn sprouts out of the ground. Like, oh, look at that.
Uh-huh.
That's what happens when you embrace collectivism. But anyway, let's get back to the actual assault. I'm not going to go down into the weeds on this because all we're getting right now is wave top level stuff. Yes, the 160th carried Delta in. Yes, Delta Force allegedly has done the hit from what we've been able to tell. There was an armada of planes in the air, both stealth and otherwise. There was a cyber attack that turned the lights off. All the elements of national power came to bear on this, and I'll discuss that briefly. The reason I've got the British Special Air Service picture on here, if you're watching us live this morning, thank you very much. Go ahead and hit that share button because this is going to be a good show. Is because the SAS normally operate in darkness. As you can see, these suits and everything that they do, their lights were set up for a nighttime attack. But Margaret Thatcher wanted this hostage rescue done in broad daylight with the news watching, because this is going to shape world opinion. If you do this on our soil, we're going to blow the doors off. We're going to come in and kill you. And so I think that was kind of Trump doing some information operations and sending a message to everybody. Nobody's outside our reach. We will come get you. Do you agree with that?
I agree completely. And I watched his press conference on C-SPAN shortly afterwards. And, even if you don't like Trump, get his book from the library, read it. You'll understand how the man thinks, whether you agree with it or not. Did you catch what he's calling the Monroe Doctrine now?
No.
The Don Road Doctrine.
Ah.
And it's like, oh, you could just, it's like poke. But I think that's the real, big picture of this is the Western Hemisphere is ours.
Yeah.
And along those same lines, I saw another snippet this morning as I was scrolling, and it was a Venezuelan commentator type guy, and he was like, everybody says Trump just did it for the oil. He goes, "What do you think China and Russia were here for?"
No shit. And
Yeah.
we're getting to that. You're teeing me up
Okay.
beautifully this
All
morning.
right.
It's like we rehearsed this.
Well, I mean, we've been up since what was it, 3:45?
Yeah,
Yeah, the fourth time through. We ought to have it by now.
I know, right? Bruce is on. Guile is on over in the Philippines. Peter is on up there, beautiful Rhode Island. Tony says back when Britain had balls, yeah, no doubt. We need another Margaret Thatcher, man. We need her. Like, man. Well, I shouldn't say the people of the UK need her right now to get this Kerr Starmer out of there and send his ass to the dustbin of history. What a piece of trash. No U.S. casualties were reported. No ships shot down. One was hit. There were some wounded. We got our people out of there. We secured the objective. Obviously, there's probably some inside stuff going on here. I would imagine that the CIA had got some sources in there that probably collected a $15 million bounty on this guy because he did have a $15 million bounty on his head. And Dr. Fuller brought this up when she was like, make it $1 billion, make it whatever, make it just where there's no place on the planet this guy can go without people giving him up. And I would imagine that you had probably Task Force Orange on the ground, lasing targets and, doing some clandestine operations that really set this place up and did what they call it advanced force operations, to make it all go swimmingly, which I obviously did. So this is the places that were all struck. I think it's amazing the breadth of this. It wasn't just one isolated hit. It's a masterclass in how to do special operations. I looked ahead. I did not steal this from you.
It's all good, brother. It's all good.
I did not.
It's out there.
Because I was adding one to your last slide, and I said, "Oh crap!" I took that anyway.
It's all good.
But here you go. This is what Maduro was Saturday morning.
I would like to think that's true in some level.
It makes me happy to think it's probably true.
It does. Yeah.
But yeah, you mentioned the Monroe Doctrine, man. Incredibly important. It's been U.S. foreign policy since 1823. Letting foreign powers know, do not interfere in the Western Hemisphere. It is ours. It's been a guiding principle for freaking 200 and some odd years. So why? Because hell, Venezuela's 1,300 miles from Miami, about 500 from Puerto Rico ish. We cannot have that level of foreign influence that close to us. And oh, by the way, we talked about a masterclass in special operations. It truly is. It will rank up there with the Israelis hitting Entebbe and some of the other just stunningly successful. Obviously, Prince's Gate with the British Special Air Service. This is going to be studied forever in how to do it the right way. And that is using all the elements of national power. Now, when I went to the Marine Corps Expeditionary Warfare School as a young officer, we learned about DIME. Well, DIME being the elements of national power back then, diplomatic, information, military, economics, but now they've added some other pieces which the Trump administration has used beautifully, and we see it here: the diplomacy, using negotiations and partnerships in the region and foreign government influences, and then we got information shaping the narrative. Information, man, is shooting these drug boats. That's sending a political message. That's shaping a narrative. That's, and then you got military, of course. The previous administrations seem to only do a weak diplomacy and then a half-assed attempt at military. Trump is using it the way it should be. Economics, levering trade, aid, sanctions. He's done all this. Promoting investments, the American oil companies knew this raid was going to happen before it happened. I mean, that came out. I'm like, whoa, you told them that? Yeah, I want them to be ready. Financial. We're going to talk about that, sanctioning and stuff like that. Putting a price on somebody's head. Intelligence. Law enforcement. That was another thing. I wonder if Dr. Fuller knows any of the FBI agents that were on that Delta Force hit, because once his objective was secured, he's yours. Hey, do your thing. And I
want to throw a quick point in there. The people say, well, he's a head of state. We can't just go arrest a head of state. I believe it was 2019 or 2020, whenever he was convicted in absentia, Biden and Trump both, Trump initially, and then Biden reiterated that they did not recognize his head of state immunity.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
that's a common one getting thrown out there right now, is the whole, he's had to say, how would you feel if somebody came in and took Trump or Biden or Bush or whoever? It's like, well, that's different.
Yeah, again, it's a masterclass in trolling the left. Donald Trump somehow has got the left to root for dictators and drug traffickers. It's like, what we've talked about this before. The left is in a doom loop. Anything that Trump does, they just hate it. Love your
Yep.
children.
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
tell me. I'll kick this kid anytime I want to.
That's right.
Look, this is a great infographic. I want to share this with you because it kind of speaks to the whole oil China, Monroe Doctrine problem here. The oil that they have is a perfect match for how we process crude oil, especially in the Gulf Coast refineries. So stabilizing domestic fuel prices, cost of living by gaining control over these vast oil reserves is very obviously very important to us, because if not, who's going to get them? China. And that cannot happen. In 2023, Beijing became the primary recipient of Venezuela oil after U.S. sanctions were imposed.
Let me interject something from my economic geek side there.
Yeah.
So this is a multi-decade economic move as well, because oil is in everything, right? Everything from pharmaceuticals to gasoline, all the way through, right? Exactly. It's in everything. And by getting access to this cheaper oil, and not just cheaper because it's a lower quality oil. It's a very sour crude. Okay. Like West Texas Intermediate is very light, sweet crude. It refines very easily. This is the opposite. So that's part of the reason it's cheaper anyway. And to your point, yes, the refineries are in the US, but also, since I forget the exact numbers, but it's something like 2/3 of their oil production has gone away since they went far left. So now this is putting more oil on the market. That drives oil prices down. That flows through to everything in the worldwide economy. The great moderation, the decrease of inflation from 1982 all the way through COVID, right? That was a big reason stock market was up. Big reason housing was up. Big reason our economy thrived. This could well set us off on 2.0 great moderation that could last decades because of this.
I 100% agree with you.
And that could then interesting. My bride just texted me, and apparently the airspace around Puerto Rico just got shut down again. Interesting. What if there's some more shenanigans afoot? But so it's more than just, we want cheap gas. That flows through to everything. You bring this inflation down, suddenly interest rates come down, economies get spurred. This is, and that will take. I mean, they're not going to refire these oil fields immediately. I don't care if you send Tommy down there from Landman; it's going to take a while, right? So and so this is going to be a long, slow grind. And honestly, whoever's in the White House next is probably going to get credit for a lot of this, because it's going to take a long time for this to really get up and running.
I absolutely agree with you. I'm so glad you said at the very beginning, you said this has been decades long. I mean, China has loaned over $50 billion to Venezuela to get access to the oil. And, by the way, China controls both ends of the ports in Panama, which they did, which is a long-term part of their Belt and Road strategy. This is the Trump administration, in my opinion, in 1 year, trying to roll back a lot of the things that China is able to do in violation of the Monroe Doctrine over the last several weak Democratic administrations. Would you agree with that, or am I being an asshole?
No, I agree completely. And let's think about how it looks on the outside. China did this as they tend to do, very slowly and incrementally, right? The frog in the pot, right? Trump's getting it done fast, so it looks ugly, right? So that plays into it. Sorry, just checking to see if my bride gave me any other important updates here. She's
If you
waiting
get
for
them, let us know, man. Because
We'll do.
think something's
She's
coming.
waiting on an appointment right now. She left early because we had some ice last night.
Mhm.
So so China does it slow and it plays fairly well in the media and public perception because either people don't notice or if they do notice, it's a little blip, right?
Right.
Trump doesn't do blips; he does blops, right? So it's not going to play as well in the media. And then, of course, there's a whole left-right paradigm going on in the states right now, and this is also I also see this as under your Chinese stuff here. You've got the oil itself, but also $50 billion is nothing to China. However, it is it plays in everything, and now they got to start looking at hey, they put a bunch of money into a port in Ecuador, huh? I wonder what's going to happen there now.
I need
So
some
this is
freedom down there.
exactly this is disrupting their stuff, and let's not forget China's also moved into the Caribbean islands a lot, and Cuba's might be saying no mas pretty soon. So this has far-reaching implications beyond just we want the oil.
Well, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, their footprint in our backyard has to be rolled back. It has to be curtailed because I think it only emboldens them to do what they're doing right now with these military exercises surrounding Taiwan. I think the timing of this raid also sends a chill down their spine. Like, okay, you can encircle it with your boats and play games, but we're not playing over here. We will take you out. So I'm glad to see the Monroe Doctrine get the dust blown off of it and reasserted, because I think that just shows that our allies in the region, in this hemisphere, we got you back. We're not playing around, and it sends the dictators, shaking in their boots. Maybe it's time for them to. Now, let's talk about these resources. And I know I haven't read your slides, but I'm sure you're going to have some sort of discussion on it. But I'm going to tell you right now that it's the fifth of the world's oil is in Venezuela, more than Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, anywhere. But it also has some of the largest, if not the largest, proven reserves of gold in ground, ready to go. So whether you want oil, you want gold, now that they have their own strategic stock of gold. I'm not talking about that. That is substantial. That's in the top 10 already out of 170, 190 countries that we know about their gold. I'm talking about what's in the dirt. So there's gold, there's oil. Do you want China to have it? I mean, that's the thing. Somebody's going to have it. And especially when you don't have a democratically elected guy, you've got some narco terrorist that happens to have his grasp on all these resources. Can't happen.
Right. And to the gold point, actually, I don't have anything in my slides at all about Venezuela.
Okay.
But to the gold point, I saw a thing yesterday. Oh, we just wanted to go in there and get the gold and so we could pay off our national debt. And it's like, really? It's like, I forget the exact dollar amount. It's about 10 days worth of deficit spending is their above ground gold reserve.
Exactly.
So it's not about that at all. Yep.
And let's look at, so if you didn't read the slide, they hold approximately 161.22 tons of gold as of Q1 of 2024. Now that's again, mined gold or fine gold sitting in a bar somewhere, sitting in a vault somewhere. I'm talking about what we could hopefully extract over time. Let's welcome some folks on here, sir. Who do we have?
Oh, let's see here. Rasmic gold members in the house.
Gold members in the crib.
Yeah.
Got Don Bothwell says, good morning, gentlemen. Good to see you back, Will. Our good friend, Mr. Will Parker, sitting here, lost track of time. Well, glad to have you. Tony says, hey, Tommy, get shit done.
He does. He does. I'd like to hang out with that guy.
What's Johnny King say?
He says, should be up and pumping my midterms. And I hope by enough to at least show a trend, right? I mean, it'd be a good thing. Midterms, as we all know, typically don't go towards the incumbent's party. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. There's been enough monkey wrenches out there in the world. We'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah. Got 13 folks watching this live. Thank you so much. Dr. Fuller is on. Dr. Fuller, bread and circuses are over, sir, at least for now. The people wanted the eye candy back. Will has come in for the eye candy.
The second string is in. Let me tell you, I'm here.
Uh, but love Dr. Fuller, and let's get him on back here as much as we possibly can. Rasmic is on, as you said. Will Parker says China has a lot of assets in Canada. They may need some freedom too, then, pal. Don't worry about that.
Yep.
Brian is on from North Texas. James is on Massachusetts. What does Don say?
It says Russia is on the playing field as well. They've sold a bunch of military hardware to Venezuela, and there's been talk of some groundwork already being done for a military base there. So yeah, this is Monroe Doctrine stuff, right? Or Donroe Doctrine. And we're gonna see this play out. I mean, Trump's on a timeline, right? So and not just the midterms but we're talking 2028 as well. So we're gonna see stuff happen more rapidly than the establishment is accustomed to. And in Trump's usual brash way. And it's gonna be noisy out there with all this stuff.
The cyber attack, there's a couple different things I want to say in reference to what Don said. The cyber attack was interesting. So we put malware on their grid, and when we wanted to, we'd just turn the lights off. Well, guess what? China has malware all in our grid. So let's don't ever lose sight of that.
Yep.
What is it doing there? I don't know. And I shudder to think about it. Another thing that, to his point about the Russian hardware that's there, one of the things that Groom Lake and Area 51 enables us to do is when we put together a strike package, we can play that strike package relative to the Chinese radar and Russian radar that we've captured and that we've reverse engineered, and can see what the signature looks like. And we will we'll do our electronic warfare until we come in and they know nothing, or it redirects them. So we have technologies that our rivals just can't fathom. I mean, if they could, the special military operation that Russia tried years ago against the Ukraine wouldn't, have dead Russians laying in trenches just rotting away. The videos that are coming out of there where they're dead are still laying on the battlefield. It's just their bones and their cell phones and their rifles still loaded. It's horrific, man.
Yep.
What does Michael say?
Says our resolve to bring justice to dictators who also happen to have significant oil reserves is admirable.
What's funny about that? And he's right. Trump, it happened and then it went away from the news, just like a lot of things these days, because there's so much unprecedented stuff going on. Trump went in there with the help of the Nigerian government and beat the crap out of ISIS and Al-Shabaab and Boko Haram and all those terrorist organizations have been slaughtering Christians. And of course, I didn't hear the Pope come out and say, thank God, somebody finally did something to protect the flock.
Yeah. Yep. It's, there can be truth and picking and choosing at the same time.
Yeah. So we talked about that. We talked about geography. It's too damn close, the Monroe Doctrine, et cetera. Does Venezuela have Bitcoin? As a matter of fact, they do. Recent intelligence reports suggest that Venezuelan government has accumulated a massive shadow reserve, over 600,000 Bitcoins valued at tens of billions of dollars. So this is another thing that we're going to snatch up. And Bitcoin, by the way, since the hit on Maduro and on Saturday has gone through the roof. Did you see that?
I'm looking at it right now. I set up multiple screens finally here in my little home office. So Bitcoin's currently at 92,000, call it 700. So it's going to take a nice pop this morning. So, I mean, that's it all plays into it. Each side's going to, cherry pick, the whys and the whats and the howevers. But I think the base case is the Monroe Doctrine and keeping China, mainly China and Russia too. Russia can't extend power like China can, out of the Western Hemisphere. And this goes back to Peter Zeihan, we as a country need to pull back from being the global police and pull it back to the Western Hemisphere because we're too stretched. We all know where the debt picture is, right? And part of personally or as a country getting out of debt is you got to reduce your expenditures.
Yeah, there's
that plays into it.
Absolutely. And of course, Will says, all infrastructure in the U.S. needs to be upgraded to defend against cyber attack. Ours is antiquated. Then he mentions also what you had mentioned. I think Chuck Schumer saying, chastising President Trump for not removing Maduro years ago. But I saw a clip from a few years back where it was I I think a Amazon Prime show about CIA analyst Jack Ryan.
Mhm.
Did you see that? Where he's talking about?
The
I'm not giving you enough
I
information.
watched the first season of that. It was quite good. The second season, I know they wound up. I thought it was Colombia they wound up in down there. Maybe it was Venezuela. I don't recall.
Well, what he's talking about to a group of young CIA analysts is what's the number one threat? And it's like, Russia. Okay, cool. China. All right. North Korea, maybe. And they go down the list, and finally he's like, what about Venezuela? And again, this was years ago. And the fictional character, Jack Ryan's like, Venezuela is the number one threat. And he enumerated the reasons why. And basically, it's what we've discussed this morning, China getting a foothold in there where you have intermediate range missile access,
Mhm.
the greatest oil reserves, the greatest gold reserves, material wealth. And now you've got a foothold in South America. Can't have it. Absolutely cannot have it. It has the longest range problems for us.
And I am just Googling here the tri-border region. I know it's not Venezuela, it's Argentina, Brazil, and Paraguay. That is a hotbed for Iran, especially.
Mm-hmm.
So does this, this is going to allow us to more easily extend power into that lawless area? That's like Star Wars bar times 10 down there. So, it's there's a lot of ancillary benefits. Is oil part of it? Sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But by the same token, there's the international rules based order, and he was not adhering to that. Plain and simple.
Plain and simple. I agree. This is one of the things too that I was really shocked at when you go down the list of what Venezuela has. They have the largest deposits in the world of something called coltan. It's a valuable strategic mineral that you cannot make electronics, smartphones, capacitors, defense-related technology. They call it blue gold for its strategic importance. And guess what? Venezuela has the largest deposits of this. So again, is this something you want China to have?
Yeah. Well,
Does this help us, our economy, our grandkids' futures?
Well, and we gave them Afghanistan with all the, I believe it's lithium over there, but a lot of rare earth minerals. And I've heard people decry the whole superpowers flexing their muscle, whether that's us or Russia or China or whatever. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, that's how it works. And it's easy to sound flippant when you're on the winning side of that. But I mean, go back in history. It's
the way it's always been.
It's way. And would we rather not be a superpower?
But even if you're not interested in the conversation of that's the way it's always been, because I kind of bristle at those comments. But I will tell you that to me, if he would have been a democratically elected official, no narco terror, he had brought his people, his country up from poverty using all these resources. And oh, by the way, sprinkle it around to those in his own hemisphere. If all those things have been checked, we wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
I agree completely. I mean, let's remember, it wasn't that long ago the people of Venezuela were eating zoo animals.
Yes. And they're not much better off now. Thank you.
Yeah. So I just watched a little some last time that I can't remember the data, but something like 70% live below the the UN's definition of the poverty line with all these resources, and we can, you can take, shots at socialism and what have you. But there's a humanitarian crisis there too. So
speaking to that, man, I'm so glad you said that, because let me circle back. Whether it's coltan or gold, one of the problems is they don't have a good control over their country. So who's controlling the coltan? A lot of these mines are controlled by organized crime and guerrilla groups. And that's the same for the gold reserves down in the south of parts of the Venezuela. They don't have a lot of control over that region. So that money, that gold, whether the coltan, whether it's the blue gold or whatever, it's being controlled by narco traffickers and terrorists and international, criminal organizations. So again, if they had been like, hey man, we've got it. We've got a strong law enforcement component. We're bringing in people that can actually harness these minerals and get them out, get them in the open market where the money's not going to illicit things. it'd be different.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to the international rules based order, right? I mean, there's two sides of that. One is you don't invade a country out of nowhere and so on and so forth. The other part is the country has to play by the rules of the international order.
Bingo. And this holiday, whether it's the Pax Romana from 2,000 years ago or it's the Pax Americana, I like that our sphere is shrinking into the Western Hemisphere. We don't, we're fighting wars over there that don't really, but this is our home.
Right.
And I don't know, man. I think it's the right decision. Now, my children also kind of, Dad, I like to think that we didn't do it just for oil. I'm like, well, you're missing the forest for the tree, man.
Yeah, I mean it plays into it, of course, but there is a bigger picture there, and the media, of course, is going to play up the oil side. No two ways about it. But where was the media when we took out Gaddafi because he wanted to start trading oil in, I can't remember if it was euros or local currencies. He wanted to get away from the dollar. Obama blew him up.
Yeah, the petrodollar.
And look at what's happened to Libya since then.
The petrodollar maintains world stability, whether you want to believe it or not. I'm sorry, folks.
And it's easy to take the high road and be like, oh, it's we need to not do this. Well, if the petrodollar system starts falling apart, remember what you asked for.
Get ready to start fighting for bread in the streets.
Yeah, because it's.
I'm just. It's just a fact. Mark is on from Australia.
Good to see you.
Speaking of problems, Mark, your country's got some concerns, and I know that you're worried about China, and hopefully this will give you all some breathing room. What we've done there, we'll see. Yeah. Don says, I saw a clip yesterday from a Venezuelan refugee that said a third of Venezuela's population has had to leave the country just to survive. She called it an unrecognized diaspora.
Yeah,
and
I mean, we all saw the celebrations by Venezuelans in Miami, New York City. I mean, it's gotta tell you something.
Oh yeah. Right? Now, what's interesting is they swore in, I forget her name, Rodriguez, immediately after Maduro was snatched, and it looked like she was going to play well.
She was the one that was duly elected last time, right? I'm not familiar with the names.
No,
was that her or no?
No, okay. She's no. Okay. You're thinking about the one that's got the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yes.
No, that's not her.
Okay, sorry.
No. So evidently Trump had said, hey, man, she had a great conversation with Marco Rubio on the phone. She's going to play ball with us, work with us. But her publicly, she said anything but that, Maduro is the duly elected leader. We want him back, death to America kind of crap. So that could be what you see right now with the shutty, because he's like, hey, man, I got another strike package ready to go. She's either going to play or we'll snatch her ass too.
Well, and that also goes against any narrative out there. Oh, they just put a puppet in. Really? So I'm not sure how she was chosen, but if she's making public comments like that, it sure wasn't to put in a puppet regime.
Right. But there's going to be a puppet regime. I'm sorry. I mean, it's going to be somebody that understands what we're trying to accomplish for the long-term benefit of Venezuela and those in the region, and to check China's influence.
Yep. And
if you're not game with that, then it's not going to work well for you. You may have an accident. Your automobile may just accelerate to an uncontrolled speed and slam into a tree. Happens.
It does. They're mechanical things. They fail.
The world is an imperfect place, Will. I don't have to tell you
it truly is.
Captain of a commercial airliner. Who's next, man?
Yeah.
Trump is coming out swinging, buddy. I think this military success, no deaths, no equipment crashing on the ground. I mean, it couldn't have went off better. Could not have went off better. So who's next? Greenland?
Yeah.
He told reporters on Air Force One, Denmark can't stop it.
Yeah.
Mexico, this is a threat against that shining bombs regime down there in Mexico. Hey, man, you're too cozy with narco terrorists. You better do something about it, or you're next. Colombia, we're looking at you too. Cuba's ready to fall, Donald Trump says. The Panama Canal, when Trump got in office, that was one of the first policy things he said. You can't have China controlling both ends of the port. Now, the Hutchison LLC, Hutchison's, that's a Scots-Irish name. That sounds like friendly. No, it's a Chinese-run thing that controls both of those. So the Panama Canal on Friday, prior to this raid, the Panamanian president come out and said all hostilities with the United States are over. We're going to work with them. Anything they want and everything they want. The Panama's theirs. So that came out quietly on Friday. Wonder if he knew something was going to happen.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? You know, and it sounds like the bully, right? But suddenly all these people that didn't want to work with us at all are all like, hey, about that, um, can we talk some more? You know, and it's easy to take the high road and be like, we should just talk all the time and never have any of these actions. Well, that's not how the world works.
Yeah.
So
Mexico really does need to get their act together. And in Colombia, we've got a footprint in Colombia. We've got a lot of the battle space already prepared in Colombia. Colombia could be an easy one. Cuba would be a little bit more difficult just because it's so rural. A lot of the infrastructure for us to shut off maybe is not as there as a more developed country. Greenland, man, the Danes better just make a deal and walk the hell away. You got what 50,000 people that live there. We've got Trump's right. We've got to have it. I mean, if global warming is a real thing, they're Democrats. Then as this ice breaks up and these lanes open up, we have to have Greenland. Sorry.
Yep. So pick one.
Exactly.
Is it global warming or not?
Yeah. And if it is, you understand we have to have Greenland.
Yep. Absolutely.
So make a price there, Denmark, and take a step back.
Yep. So
let's get some.
And to that point, it looks ugly when you take back control, right? After years, decades, generations of erosion of that by going all over the world. And it's going to look ugly. But it is the changing world order. People want to be like, America shouldn't be the world's police. Well, then we're in the Western Hemisphere police, and we have more resources, the same number of resources put in a smaller area, and we all benefit from it. We can, we can use the old British saying, it's a shame that our oil happens to be under Saudi Arabia, right? So it's ugly, but we all benefit from it. And I want to say we, I mean Americans.
Bro, when
you can make the argument the whole world does too, but that's a further out argument.
Here's the thing, man. I at the time, it was at 1930s, 1920s that the British Petroleum Company found us vast resources in Saudi Arabia. There's a bunch of Bedouins walking around. They don't need that. I mean, honestly, they don't need that. It's not going to do them any good. There is no economy. There's a bunch of Bedouins. Live like your ancestors lived. And what do you care?
Yeah.
I mean, but we let them have a share in the oil, and then now they can jerk our chain anytime they want. It's like, you know what, man? Give me a time machine. You don't get a vote. I'm going to take it. And and again, I get it. I've spent my entire adult life in law enforcement and the military, so I'm a little bit more bellicose in some of these things. Not as a warmonger, but I don't think the average person drinking Starbucks turns their nose up on this shit. And it's like, you don't understand that your BMW you drove the Starbucks in, the wheels, the steering wheel, every component in it, your iPhone, the lid on your Starbucks cup, everything comes from oil. Everything's part of the petrodollar. That is just the world we live in. Sorry.
Yep. Harsh but true. So which lifestyle do we choose?
I know, man.
Each one has some ugly consequences. So
I'm sorry. Jeff says Biden was the one who signed the $25 million bounty on Maduro. The left needs to sit back on this one. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. Steve says, I found it interesting that President Trump mentioned taking the oil reserves. Right or wrong, he is the first president to honestly say we will take their oil. Yeah. John is on. Jeff says you should add California, Oregon, and Washington to the watch list on who's next. Yeah. Bob is on. And what does Brian say that Denmark
says? Yet Denmark is still making noises about us leaving Greenland alone. And it's all part of that back and forth, right? And it's like, well, we're going to exert power, and it's like, how many decades have we funded NATO? Seriously, and ensured their safety, Europe's safety, everybody's safety. It's time to take care of us.
Yeah, and again, I would argue that if Maduro had been the duly elected leader, if Maduro had secured the the oil reserves and taken care of his friends in this hemisphere first, if he hadn't cozied up to the Chinese regime, if Maduro had secured those coltan reserves and the gold reserves, so they weren't going into the valley, if he wasn't the head of a cartel and been responsible for the deaths of tens, if not hundreds of millions of Americans, maybe we leave him alone and his oil alone. But you know what, buddy? You've got a crosshairs on your head. You do shit like
Well,
that.
and let's think about what kind of leader was he? I mean,
Right.
their oil production since Chavez took over is down by 60-70%. They're
Mhm.
not as a country exploiting their blue gold or their
Mhm.
gold or their black gold. The 70% of the people are living below the UN's poverty line. I mean, which part of, and there's the whole
And
narco side,
30% of their
right?
country had to flee, Will. Can you
Yeah.
imagine,
So
America?
yeah,
That would be like 100 million Americans fleeing.
yeah.
It's crazy.
So exactly which part of his regime bears defense?
Thank you.
You know,
Nothing. You can make no
so
moral equivalent
right.
for it.
And the
And they
people can't do anything. He was defeated in an election. The UN even came out and said that, right?
Right.
He only got 30% of the vote, and because there's no Second Amendment, it was tough.
Yeah, you can watch the videos of the damn, I don't know if they're Bearcats. They look like there's some sort of armored personnel carrier just running over people.
Mm-hmm.
So thank God for our Second Amendment. It's not there for hunting and sporting, folks. And I know that I'm speaking to the American Weird Society audience. You get it. But for those of your friends, it's a check against tyranny. It's
Yep.
to stop people like him. And I love this comment right here from Project 1868, Dangerous Freedom Over Peaceful Slavery.
Yep.
Agreed.
Well, and to your Second Amendment comment, it's there's the meme running around. The founding fathers. We're not worried about a certain type of firearm. We're worried about a certain type of government.
Amen. That's exactly right. It had nothing to do with it. It's the government.
Yeah,
And that's all I had on Venezuela. Again,
that's awesome, brother.
if you came looking for 160th delivered them on this rooftop, they blew a hole. I'm not interested in those level. So what is the strategic implication of what
Right.
just happened and a changing world order that is going to be very important? And I think the final thing I would say, and it goes back to this slide, and then we'll get into your portion of the show.
Mhm.
Who's next? I mean,
Yeah.
now that we've
And-
got the momentum going, we got 3 more years of Trump. We got the midterms coming up. This is an important year.
Well, and will there be a next, or will suddenly people be like, you know what? Let's sit down. Let's
Like
come up with
Panama
some sort of
did.
a trade agreement, right?
Like Panama did less than
Yeah.
24 hours before we launched this raid.
Exactly. So, Michael Gentili, Venezuelans
right.
lost 20 pounds of body weight. Everybody can stand to lose a few pounds. So
That's what
so
collectivism's going to do.
exactly.
Helps everybody lose weight.
The warmth of collectivism. So, and let's before we get into my stuff here, let's also talk about this the investment side. A friend of mine texted me last night. Said, where do I put money? Now he's looking for more of a trade, a gamble, if you will. Oil companies are up nicely this morning. The only thing I'm going to throw out there is a caution of hashtag not financial advice is I'm not going to invest or trade or gamble on any individual oil company because at some level there'll be winners and losers in this. Trump may go look at who got thrown out because when Chavez took over, he nationalized the oil fields and threw the American oil companies out. They lost all their investments. So those companies, and I'm not sure who they are, may get some preferential treatment there, and they may not. And because of that, I'm not going to go into any individual stocks myself. Take that for what it's worth to you.
Okay.
But yeah.
Can I talk about that? Because you just reminded me. I'd heard, Will, and don't quote me on this, but I'd heard that when Maduro was trying to get some sort of, let me go to exile. I'll give you everything. You can have the
Mhm.
keys to the kingdom. Just, take the bounty off and don't throw me in America, because everybody knows what happened to Manuel Noriega. Everybody
Mhm.
remembers Just Cause,
Yep.
especially in that region. They know what we are capable of. And oh, by the way, when he served his sentence here, we shipped his ass off to France, and he spent years and years and years in French prisons. Then Panama took him and put him in prison basically until he died. So this is the same thing that Maduro, the same
Yep.
fate that him and his wife and probably his kids that have all been involved in this,
Mhm.
and other people, even the members of their Supreme Court have been involved in this narco trafficking.
Yep.
And so again, I think we're going to see maybe something like a Nuremberg if we do in fact run that country, to hold all of them accountable, which I think is amazing. But where I'm going with this is
Go ahead,
one
sorry.
final thing. This is where all that crap I'm saying was going. I had heard that one of the things Maduro said is, I welcome back all American oil companies with the exception of Chevron.
Hmm.
So to your point, if that is the case, and Chevron is one of the ones that had bad blood, that might be one of the things that Trump is like, hey, Chevron, you have first dibs. I don't know, man.
Yeah. Chevron, sorry, Math and Public. Chevron's up 6.5% pre-market this morning, about the same as everybody else on the oil side. So, yeah. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, the Nuremberg stuff.
Yes.
I think that would be key to, this is what's really good. Let's get rid of all the narrative, left and right. Have a trial. This is here's the evidence. Here's what was happening. Here's how Supreme Court Justice of Venezuela, XYZ, here's how this person profited from these things. Here's the paper trail. Here's all this stuff. Put it out there. And that would put the light of day on this stuff. And that's well worth the time and expense to do so.
Agreed. And I'm going to back up to this last thing. And it speaks kind of to what my brother Jeff said a second ago. It's like, hey, Oregon, Washington, and California, you might be next. I tell you what, Somali fraudsters better be on this list. And I would like to see them at the top of this list. I would like to see their ass deported, denaturalized, and get them the hell out of here, especially if they had anything to do with this fraud. Now, that is not the express ideas of the American Warrior Society. I speak alone for myself on that one. If it turns out to be true, what we have seen with our own eyes, if it turns out to be true, denaturalize their ass.
Yeah.
There's got to be a policy or a process for denaturalization for these criminals that have taken a lot of our treasure. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree completely. And they didn't come up with this on their own.
Good point.
And if you go look at the political donations of said facilities, go down those lists, they're out there. It all went to one party.
Yeah.
So it was to a degree a money laundering scheme, and it was working great until it didn't. And it was like Walls is going to be the fall guy for it, which fine,
But I don't want to see congressional hearings. I mean, they're already talking about it. I'm not interested in some made for TV melodrama crap. I want to see the perp walk. I want to see the Maduro with the shades on and in the ears and handcuffs. That's what I want to see.
Absolutely. And that's what it would be if you or I defrauded the federal government. There wouldn't be any, you know what? We'll let it go. No, it would be, we're going to take all your stuff. Right? They can't denaturalize us. They're stuck with us. But they're going to take all your stuff and we're either going to put you in prison or you're going to wish you were in prison.
Yeah, my uncle was an IRS agent, and he was, back in he still has PTSD probably from it. I don't know if he ever watches the show, but he was like, man, I used to seize people's boats. I used to seize their freaking houses. I used to take everything from them.
Yep.
And I think now, he's a staunch conservative and he sees the danger of unchecked power like that. But I want to see some of that power go to do good. I want to see these people held freaking accountable. I don't want a congressional. I want indictments. I want perp walks, and I want long prison sentences. And denaturalization, so people know you don't do that shit.
Yeah,
that's your kids' future, your grandchildren's future, my grandkids' future that have been siphoned away to Somali. It's not like they're living high on the hog here necessarily, so much as they're enriching Democrats and sending that money to terrorist organizations throughout sub-Saharan Africa.
And let's not forget, Al Shabaab is currently in negotiations to get half the parliament seats or whatever they call it over there in Somalia.
Mm,
So, and Al Shabaab is Al Qaeda affiliated.
that's
So,
right.
let's not forget we're funding our own demise there.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Suicide sympathy,
So
folks.
we'll get on to the boring side here, guys. So started off as usual with my stuff on the CNN Fear Grid Index. Neutral now has been quite low there, as you can see there on the timeline. Came back up, coming back. You know, earlier you mentioned a 2026 outlook. The annual stock market predictions are a fool's game, so here I go. I think we're going to see a year of two halves. As compared to those years, we don't see a year of two halves. First half, I would expect, especially first quarter, I'm expecting things to do quite well. Um, at some point, some of these other things that we're going to talk about in some future slides are going to come home to roost. And we'll see how it shakes out. Could go bad, but let's think about. We've had 20+% returns in a year per year in the stock market. There's never been a fourth ever. Now, that said, can that happen? If they pump enough money in the system, yes, they can. But and we can argue whether it's technically a bubble or not. You never know until after the fact. But after a run up like this, bubble or not, they do not resolve themselves by going sideways for 10 years back to a long term trend. Usually there's a crash. In fact, every time there's been a crash, because humans are emotional, and when things start to fall apart, we don't go, well, I'll put more money in there. We get out of the way. Right, wrong, or indifferent, whether that's the smart investing way or not, that's what we do. Typically, when stock valuations are this high, your forward returns over 10 years are 3% annually. But that's not 3% a year for 10 years. That's usually down a significant amount and then it comes back. So, this is something to keep in mind. I haven't exited the stock market, but if I was on the dance floor, I'm a little closer to the exit than I was, say, 6 months ago. Now, market's been up over the last 6 months. Yep. And, I think a prudent investor is still partaking in that, but also aware that this can't go on. Like the loaves and the fishes, right? So at some point there will be a reckoning. We just have to wait and see. Now, for that to happen, though, there has to be a catalyst. Something has to happen. Bull markets do not die of old age. Just because it's been going on for 4 or 5 years, they don't just, the life cycle of a bull market is 3.8 years and we're past it. And it's not how it works. There has to be something, a financial crisis, take your pick. Whatever it is, something has to happen. So watch for that catalyst and be aware that eventually there will be one. So what it'll be, I don't know.
You were saying a second ago that don't know if it's a bubble, right? Yeah, and I've enjoyed the returns. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But I think to quote Michael Burry, there are indicators, whether you're in a bubble or not. It's easy to say, look, it's like nobody could have predicted that. Well, technically there are indicators. Now it's not a full-on prediction, but if you know how to read the signs, which I think is what you're kind of getting to, you're making some decisions based on those, right?
Right. And so it's really more about risk management. That's really how I think a prudent investor sees the market. It's not about returns. It's about you can be like, well, I made 160% last year, Rich. I put 100% of my money in silver. Yeah, is that really good risk management? Because silver has been, JP Morgan was fined almost $1 billion for manipulating the silver price down. So yeah, he made a lot of money. That can go away real fast, because I remember buying physical silver at 50 an ounce back in 2012 and watching it go to 15. Now, I didn't care because it's sitting up in the gun safe and it's never going away. Right. And it's a small portion of my portfolio. But if we see another 60% reduction in silver, which I don't see happening, but if that happens, you got 100% of your money in there, you're going to go from a hero to a zero. Right. So
yeah, what is silver? I know it got up to 82 or an ounce, something like that.
It's pulled back from there. Let me see here.
What's it at? $76 an ounce, which is crazy, right?
Yep. In fact, it must have just market just opened, so I just got an alert on my other screen here. Hang on, I'm
While you're
scrolling.
looking at that, did you see that Tim Walsh just ended his reelection bid?
Oh, did it? No, I did
Just
not.
announced while we've been on this
Oh,
morning.
I'm sure that's just a coincidence.
Oh
That's
yeah,
just
come on, man.
spend more time with his family, I'm sure. Silver's at 76 and a half, up 5% this morning.
Mhm.
And to Mark's comment here, his bets on silver price, with a prudent amount of money, yes, I agree. And silver is more volatile than gold, and to your point, yes, there's
Buy silver
indicators.
now, or is the run over, man? I mean,
Man, I don't know. It's
I
it's
bought
hard.
all my silver at $25 an ounce, so I'm sitting good, but it's sitting in a gun safe. Like you said, it's not. I'm not going to
Yeah.
go.
There's uh, so there's two parts to that. We can say silver's going to go up, silver's going to go down, and we're both going to be right on a long enough timeline, right?
True.
So timing matters, and so you and I are of the age where I don't want to ride out a 20-year downturn in anything,
Hell
right?
no.
So that's
I
where
don't have
that risk
25 years.
that's where that risk management thing comes in, right?
Mhm.
So and to Mark's point, his bets on silver, I would not be the least bit surprised if we see $100 an ounce silver sometime in
Really?
2026. Now, will that? I mean, if you think about it, it was up 100. Well, it had a pullback right at the end of the year, but it was at one point it peaked at 175% in 2025. It pulled back. Let's call it 150%. Well, it only needs 50% more to make, not even 33% more to make 100. And the momentum's behind it. People are standing for delivery. You've got Samsung. Um, are you hearing that bell go off or no?
No.
Okay, good. All right, thanks. Um, you've got Samsung just bought out, I forget the name of the silver miner, just bought out the next 20 years of their production at 65 an ounce, I believe.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So that puts a floor underneath that, right?
True.
Now, could Samsung just, be like, hey, we want to buy out of this contract at some point if silver drops enough? Sure. Um, but this is,
Highly unlikely because it's an
yeah,
industrial metal, right?
it is. And if the global economy keeps growing, cheaper oil, lower interest rates, if all that starts to play into it, you know, and we can also talk the devaluing of the dollar because let's face it, Trump is not getting the deficit under control. He's doing a little bit, but we're not back to a balanced budget by any stretch of the imagination. And for the record, none of us want a balanced budget
Mhm.
because when 24% of GDP is government spending, if we get a balanced budget, you're looking at a big old recession.
And I think that's why Doge quietly got, hey, thank you for playing. Here's the
Yeah.
key.
Yep.
Musk.
Yep. Yeah.
But did you
Exactly.
see he had dinner with Melania and Trump over the weekend?
No, I do not.
Musk did. Yeah,
So
there's some
now,
pictures.
if they go after more of this fraud, I mean it's a lot of money, but we have to keep in mind the size of the federal government spending too, right? So yes, it's a lot of money, and I agree completely that it needs to go away, right?
But there appears to be let's say three main beneficiaries of the fraud: the fraudsters, terrorist organizations, and the Democratic Party.
Yep,
That's just
absolutely.
what I've seen.
Yep,
I could be. Let's let the
yep,
sunlight tell us what it is. Let's get the
absolutely. It's the best disinfectant, right?
yeah.
So, um, um, yep. Nickel is another industrial metal out there. Another one to look at, guys. Look at aluminum. The aluminum industry was decimated over the last 20 something years because it all went to China and it's coming back.
Oh, guess what? Guess what? Venezuela has one of the largest deposits of
Let me see here.
aluminum.
Oh, really?
Bet your ass it
So,
does.
yeah, I mean, I'm just this two screen thing is kind of cool. Let me see here. So I'm looking at Alcoa from I'm just picking a point here. Day after Thanksgiving last year to now, you're going to wish you would have put your money in Alcoa, up 61% since
Oh
Thanksgiving.
my God.
Yeah. So, and let's see here, if we go on a longer term chart, yeah, it's run up significantly here. I'm not saying I would buy any of that right now, but if it continues to run and industrial metals continue to run, there's also ETFs out there where you can buy a cross section of industrial metals and things like that. So,
Oh really?
yeah. So as production comes back to the States, will those continue to run? Maybe. We'll see.
Right.
But all right. So this now that's all the great rah rah stuff, right? Well, there's still stuff happening under the underpinnings. One of the, gosh, it was one of the major banks. I can't remember which one, but it was like the J.P. Morgan City level analyst came out and said, right now, and I'm paraphrasing a bit. Right now, the economy is like Wile E. Coyote. He's run off the cliff. His legs are still going. He just hasn't fallen. The gravity hasn't taken over yet. Now, am I saying that's imminent or what? We all know it's going to happen eventually, right? And we're going to talk about some of these underpinnings right now. All right. So this is from the Daily Mail. Um, Mom and pop bankruptcies. This is chapter 5, I believe it is. Small businesses. These chapter 5 bankruptcies are up considerably, and this is after they made it harder to file a chapter 5. Okay. So the point here is just like we've talked about the K-shaped economy between those who own assets and have good income versus those who do not have assets and are not of a higher income are experiencing two different Americas right now. That's why we see Mondami in New York City,
Good point.
right? So we're also seeing it with businesses. The big businesses can access money at, quarter point above the Fed fund rate or what have you. Pick your number, right? Small businesses are paying 7. Now, there's reasons for that. Like, small business has more risk, right? Better chance of them going out of business. There are realities behind why they get different treatment, but it's also on a corporate level, the K-shaped economy.
Mm.
And then that flows through to the personal side as well, because if a small business fails, it's not uncommon for that person to also lose their house, some of their retirement savings, if not all. And it's also not uncommon. I've seen it with small business owners, to empty out their retirement accounts to keep the business afloat.
Mm.
So, these are things that are happening under the surface, so to speak. And I've never met a small business owner who's like, yeah, things suck. It's always things are great. They're always upbeat in public, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as a longtime small business owner, I never once said, yeah, a little rough right now. No, you can't do that. Because then the next thing you know, there's a rumor running around a smaller town like mine or yours. Oh, they're on the edge of going out of business. You can't do that, right? So this is the reality of what's happening out there, right?
What do you think that because you're talking about the U.S. economy and Wile E. Coyote and all that kind of stuff. It's hilarious visual, but I'm looking at a juxtaposition. I'm thinking of a juxtaposition between Trump level tariff duty collection, roughly almost $300 billion with a B in 2025. Juxtapose that by the last year of Obama, and we 10x the amount of money we're bringing in from tariff, and we're not running the level of deficits that we used to. So how does that play into the U.S. economy? Because I think people are not talking about that much.
They aren't, and because you can say it's because the left leaning news doesn't want to go there, right? And there's probably some truth in there.
Because I also will, and it circles to some other thing you point, and I hope you can bridge those two together for us, and that is the impact on the mom and pop organizations. Because if you rise tariffs up, then maybe mom and pops get some breathing room. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, it can also go the other way too, because the Walmart negotiates differently than the Brown, 5 and dime, right?
Mm-hmm.
Walmart can go to China and say, "Hey, you're eating half the tariff," and they go, "Okay." Where China goes to the Brown 5 and dime and says, "Here's the price," right?
Good point.
So it can have that effect as well. So it's one of the it's also we see this in regulation. It always surprised me for a long time why you see these big businesses being like, "Yeah, we need these regulations in here," and it's like it's costing you money, and then you realize it's putting the small players out of business.
Mm.
And
Good
so
point.
it's monopoly through regulation, and the big business, adhering to this new regulation is 0.1% of their revenue. Where for the small business, it's some much larger number and an onerous thing to track.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see that happen, that dichotomy between large and small businesses as well.
Good parking point, man.
Um,
Let me pull this back up here.
yeah.
Move on to this one there.
Let's bring up Alan's comment there.
Okay.
You think Mandami can deliver all his free stuff? Yes. The process will be ugly. Can he do it? Yeah. He's got control of New York City. Obviously there's a city council and what have you, but they're gonna go along with him. And so can he deliver on this stuff? Yes. But I mean, look, rent control is the only one of those I'm really familiar with, or have looked at, and that's what ends up happening is you just end up with fewer places because what landlord is going to go in there and say, I want to buy this building? Oh, it's guaranteed to lose money. Right. Awesome. I can't wait. And then if there's no money, they don't keep it up. And yeah. And then
they should do that because of collectivism. Well, come on, man. Does it all have to be about money?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Is that bad?
Hey, I've pulled up some data here.
Okay.
The 2016, we ran a $502 billion trade deficit. Now it's 52 billion. Again, 10x increase in, and 10x reduction and then 10x increase.
So this is where I think this is why we're having a hard time getting inflation down to the Fed's 2% target. Because remember when you and I started talking a long time ago, it was like, well, the trade deficit's actually a good thing because that's us exporting the excess dollars out of the country to China for the most part at that time, right? And that's why we printed all this money and didn't see inflation. Well, now we're not printing money and we're having a hard time getting inflation down to where they want it. So this is the reverse of that. So be prepared for I think there's a good chance for the foreseeable future, barring some other event, economic catastrophe. I think there's a good chance we don't see 2% inflation for the rest of this decade.
So if I understand you correctly, if you're doing QE, quantitative easing, printing money, you need to run a high trade deficit so you can export that excess currency.
And that's what globalization did.
Correct. But now that we're not necessarily printing, money printer go burr at the moment, and we're running a lower trade deficit and bringing more, then that's the way it should be. Now they start printing again. But what is the new, and I know I'm getting off your thing here, but I'm so excited to have you back on the show. When Jerome Powell leaves office in a few months and we get the new guy, he's probably going to reduce rates. How is that going to play in?
So I would expect inflation to go up. Okay, let's keep in mind, let's think about Trump. He's a real estate guy. I have never met a real estate guy who thinks rates should not be lower.
Right.
Rates should always be lower to a real estate guy. Right. So, I chuckle and laugh when people go, he's just going to put in somebody who does what he wants. Like which president is going to nominate a Federal Reserve chairman that isn't going to do what they want?
It's going to be a pain in the ass.
Right. I mean, come on. I mean,
because he's shaping the economy his way, right?
Yeah, exactly. Same way Obama did, same way Biden did. It's just the way it is, right? I mean, nobody's going to put somebody in there that goes against them, right? So the other thing that's going to happen is let me answer your point first. Rates will go down. That's going to make it, barring anything else changing, that's going to make inflation go up. Now, it may not, I'm not saying it's going to go back to 9%, but as part of why I don't see inflation, I don't see him hitting the 2% target anytime soon. Now, here's the other side of that. That keeps the rate, if inflation is higher, people will demand, let's say inflation sits at 3%. People are like, well, I'm not putting my money into a savings account or a money market unless it's making 4%. Okay, well, that's a real return of 1% once you take inflation out, right? Well, this is after decades of savers being crushed,
right?
Getting negative real returns. So, but this is also going to cause other issues. So, bond rates are going to be higher. Well, that affects how much, we can, or how easily we can manage the national deficit. It also could stifle the stock market. Now, when I say stifle it, I don't mean the stock market's going to go down, but we may not see this 20% plus stuff. However, and the stock market, I think, will be more volatile over the remainder of the decade and a bigger picture. But in a 3% ish inflation regime, if you don't hold on to assets and ride the volatility, you will be crushed.
So you're still saying for 2026 and the foreseeable future, put your money in assets.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. When inflation's like this, your biggest risk is inflation, not a potential down market.
Fair enough.
I mean, look at the last 5 years. If you'd gone to cash in 2020 at the height of COVID and stayed in cash, how much opportunity was lost?
All right. Yeah.
And there for quite a while, inflation was running 9%, and you were still only getting 4 or 5% on on say a savings account. You were losing purchasing power each year. Okay. Now there is a differentiation I want to throw out there, and that is timeline matters. Right now, I've got a significant part of my portfolio in cash, and people are like, "You're losing purchasing power." I'm like, "It's 2 weeks."
Right.
All right. So there's a difference between sticking your money in cash in 2010 and letting it sit till 2025 and going a few weeks here or there, a month when things are, don't feel good to you, or that's what makes you happy for a short period of time. Now, psychologically, what can happen though is if during that time a person sits in cash, if the market keeps going up, it can be difficult. You're like, it's got to come back down, and you wait. It's got to come back down, and you wait. And then you miss out on those things. So be very careful with cash if you don't have the discipline to go back in. Because then you will lose purchasing power if that goes on long enough. So
yeah. Guile says, what do you mean buying silver? Is it in form of jewelry or buying it as an element or an ETF? What do you recommend?
Mine is physical and ETF. So in the tax deferred retirement type accounts, I use SLV. There's also PSLV, which I forget who runs PSLV, but the PSLV, when you buy shares of that ETF, they go buy physical silver and put it in a vault.
Like that.
And that's audited. So that actually decreases the amount of silver on the open market.
Which is important. I mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about what if you kept your money in cash? My brother is on here. He'll know what I'm talking about. In our safety deposit box, there's my grandfather's wallet, and it has 50 $100 bills in it. And he put that money in there in 1978 because it was somewhere he wasn't able to buy something because he didn't have the cash. So he's like, that'll never happen to me again. I'm going to carry $5,000 in my front pocket of my overalls at all times. Well, that money has once he passed away, that money is just sitting there in our safety deposit box. My father doesn't want anybody to touch it. So when he put it in his wallet in 1978, the purchasing power of that $5,000 was equivalent to $25,000 today.
Yes.
So eventually it'll be worth, you can buy a soda with it. I mean,
right.
But if he would have put it in assets, i.e. bought gold at $400 an ounce back then, it would be worth a staggering amount right now.
Yeah.
So I think that is a lesson in hanging on to your cash. Good luck with that strategy. Put it in assets. He could have bought property with that, something.
To your point, I know you just used gold as an example, but it didn't matter what asset.
Thank you.
Right? So you go stocks, you go bonds, you go real estate, anything that doesn't wear out. Don't go buy a washer dryer with it as an investment.
Or a car, for God's sake. Yeah.
Exactly. Unless it's a sports car, that's different. You have to go. My wife could watch this later. So gotta go. All right. But the point is, assets protect you from inflation, except there's one time it does not, and that's during times of deflation, Great Depression. Cash is king, because each month, each period of time, your cash becomes more valuable. Prices are dropping. We will, in my opinion, never see deflation again in this country because they make the money printer go burr.
Yep.
And the value of the dollar goes down, and the nominal price of the asset goes up. Mm-hmm. I can't even imagine the scenario where we see a depression, a deflationary depression. I can't. They figured out how to get around it. Money. And it really started, and it started in 1929 when they confiscated the gold.
Yeah,
that was the first. That was the first move of it, because now they could make as much money as they wanted.
That's right.
So,
And you look at the troubled asset relief program. I mean, kept us out of that, quagmire.
yep.
What about John's comment here?
Yeah.
It says, when I was a stockbroker in the 90s, you could count on equities and bonds moving opposite of each other. Not anymore. Why?
Inflation.
Hmm.
Because so let's look at the 2022, 2023 type time frame. And I'm going to go to the height of that, John. Okay. When we ran 9% inflation and J Dog was behind the curve, as the Fed always is, they were behind the curve and rates. I'm kind of making the numbers up a little bit here, guys. Okay. But it's good for the example. Inflation is 9%, bonds are at 3%. Okay. They had to raise interest rates, right? Well, when you raise interest rates, that's the price of the bond going down, to John's point. So now they're chasing those. The Fed is running rates up, decreasing the value of the bonds. At the same time, the higher interest rates are making it harder for businesses to finance their operations and finance growth, and that hurts the stock market at the same time. So the difference is in the 90s, were from 82 until COVID, we were in a time when inflation kept going down and therefore rates kept going down. Really, more to the point, rates kept going down. So therefore, rates down is bond prices up. So then you would see that what we call the traditional offset that John's referring to, right? So the bonds in a 60-40 portfolio, the bonds move, the standard philosophy is the bonds will move opposite of the stocks. Well, we're seeing less and less of that now with this higher inflation regime. And if we stick in say a 3%-ish regime, it won't be as bad as when inflation was at 9%, but it will be the same thing. And there's more and more people out there, and this is going to make you happy right here. Like collectivism makes you happy, Rich. There's more and more people. I mean, I'm talking big banks. I'm talking like JP Morgan size stuff. Okay. They're no longer advocating for a 60-40 portfolio. They're saying 60-20-20. 60% stocks, 20% bonds, 20% precious metals.
And that's who's saying that? JP?
I can't remember if it was JP Morgan, but it was a bank of that size. Might have been Bank of America. And that's what they're advising their clients to do. That goes back to, our silver prices going to go down, our gold prices go down. If these big banks are advocating for their clients to buy 20% of their portfolios into precious metals, that's a floor. And that means every year when you start putting money in your 401k, it's time to put money in the IRA, and it's going 60-20-20. That's putting a floor on those assets.
Yeah.
And then it becomes the self-licking ice cream cone at some point. It's going up, buy more. It's going up, buy more, right?
I'm so glad you mentioned the idea of the floor. That gives me some hope, because I've been like, man, I'm almost I feel like I was priced out of the precious metal game right now. Like, I'm just going to hold on to what I got, but I think I will trickle back into it a little bit. Don's point is,
and to that point, let me give you a strategy.
Please.
Okay? Hashtag not financial advice from a public school educated pilot. Okay. Let's say, I'm just going to make up easy math numbers here. Let's say you've got $200 a month you want to put into precious metals. Okay. And you're like, I'm not feeling real good about this price. Put 100 a month in, put the other 100 in the savings account. You're participating. And then when there's a pullback, like we recently had in gold ran up, pulled back, and it's moving back up, right? When you see that pullback, your original plan was 200 a month. You've been doing 100 a month. When it pulls back, go 250 a month, right? So it's dollar cost averaging with intelligence. It's not just blind dollar cost averaging month after month. It's dollar cost averaging with a plan. So if you believe in gold long-term, which I believe you do, there's a way to still participate if it keeps going up, and also play it kind of the way I do, to be honest. I remember, when gold peaked out, last time here just a few months ago, you and I were texting. I was like, yeah, I'm selling some. And you were like, really? And I'm like, yeah, really. And you were like, it's going to come back. I'm like, yeah, I know. And then I'm going to have that. I secured that profit, and then I bought back in. Now, I didn't sell all my paper gold. I sold maybe 25% of it. That way, if I'm wrong, I'm still participating, right?
Yes, sure.
And there's some loss opportunity there if that happens, but it went the way those things go a lot, it got overbought. There was some profit taking, which I was part of. And then when it is in the bottoming process, I started buying back in.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So there you go. So, or leave it alone and go enjoy your life. You do you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm kind of there,
Yeah.
just enjoying my life.
Yeah. And you got to do whatever works for you.
Lose sleep over this stuff.
So, unemployment concerns. So this is individuals 12-month expectations of more unemployment. You will notice that this chart has gone high and to the right here recently.
See
So
that?
this is people who were surveyed, the University of Michigan, and were asked, do you expect unemployment to be higher in 12 months? You got to go all the way back to 1980 to find a higher number.
Damn.
Yeah. That's an astute
And actually,
observation.
that might be
sir.
79.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is what people are expecting. So now when people expect that, do they go spend money?
No.
No, they don't. So this is part of that underpinnings we have to look at. Now, does that mean they go out and spend zero next month instead of, their normal amount? No, but maybe they don't buy that little extra.
Yeah.
And in stock market economies, they run on the margin, right? It's like, if you want to look at a housing market, right? And the house down the street sells for 300,000. Well, the next one sells for 310. Well, that last purchase set the price.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it doesn't happen that quickly in, say, the retail game. But there's a reason Walmart and Dollar Tree are doing better than Target right now.
Good point.
Right. So these things are on the margin. There's a reason BNPL is becoming even more popular. Right. So this is something for us to keep an eye on. So, and if you can go back to that one for just a second, brother, one last observation. You'll notice each one of those, every time this expectation spikes, there's a gray bar right behind it.
That's a recession, right?
That's a recession.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a pattern in there somewhere.
I tell you what's amazing to me is that the number's higher than during the financial crisis.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But even the financial crisis, I mean, I think it snuck up on a lot of people. So this one, is a slow grind, right? Yeah.
What do you think about John's comments? He says on the unemployment, that's highly dependent upon how you define workforce. Is the new Department of Labor defining the labor market differently than its predecessor?
To your question, I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything about that one way or the other. But that's a great point because they will change how they measure stuff to make this stuff work.
AI could be driving that,
Ooh, we're going to get to that right at the end. Okay.
Yeah, cool.
So, and this is, bear in mind though, it was John, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Bear in mind, John, this is also a survey, University of Michigan survey. And it sounds like you're probably familiar, but just for anyone who isn't, when they say survey, that means they actually talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
So this is these people's expectations going ahead. So,
but we can track it across time. That's the beautiful thing. It's not a one-off.
Exactly right.
You could see the sentiment for the last, almost 50 years.
Yep. And some of these surveys honestly have become less valuable over time because they've also become political. I don't want to say ploys. Like right now, Democrats see everything's going to fall apart, right? And when Biden was in there, Republicans saw everything going to fall apart. That's a relatively new phenomenon. I'm going to say definitely post 9/11 has been slowly building towards that. So some of these surveys are becoming less valuable because of that.
Yeah.
So
well, definitions could change. There's to John's point. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that could be affecting it.
Yep.
But I think overall, it's a trend is your friend kind of thing.
Yep, exactly right. And the trend is even your friend in something like this, because even though it's not good news, we can use that information to help us manage risk. Right? Yeah. So this is from the Federal Reserve Bank in New York. Respondents who expect their financial situation will be better off over the next year. That's going down.
Damn.
Okay. I think it probably plays into the previous chart too, right? If you see unemployment going up, you would not expect your financial position to be going up as well, correct? So just a reiteration of that in a different measure. All right. University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index, again, back to the previous point, some of these becoming less valuable, yes, but to Rich's point, it's the trend. Because if people feel good, they spend money. If they spend money, the economy does better. You notice this chart goes back to 75. It's 1975, not 1875 for my kids. You got to go back. I mean, right at the in 2022, right at the height of the market down, inflation up, right? We're tied with that, and it doesn't feel now like it does back then, right?
This is weird because I personally don't feel this. You know what I'm saying?
And I can't remember if I got a slide on this or not. I've been slowly building a slide deck since the last show I was on. At one point, I was up to like 48 slides here. So I can't remember for sure what I called out of there and what I didn't. But there's a reason you don't feel that, because you have assets. Right? Because what's happened to your IRA balances, your retirement balances over the last year? What's happened to your gold value? Right?
Everything's going up.
What's happened to your home value?
Everything's going up.
What if you don't have any of those things?
Then you're effed.
Then you're that red box. And
so
that's what we're seeing with this K-shaped economy.
So let me ask you this. Does this in any way make it a buyer's market or a seller's market, or am I not looking at this right?
For what asset?
Because I'm thinking like, I would love to see people be like, I don't feel good about the market. I'm going to liquidate some assets to position myself better in cash or something like that. And it's an opportunity for Rich Brown to buy some property here in Tennessee. But I'm not seeing it. All the lefties flying in here, man, all my prices are going through the roof.
And this is where some of the reporting out there on real estate, they run at odds. You'll be like, you're seeing that there. Wisconsin. I mean, Wall Street Journal just did an article about people moving from the West Coast to, they were talking about Appleton over in the Fox Valley, just south of Green Bay. Moving there, I got twice the house for half the money. And I'm like, go to Tennessee. It's warmer. They have no state income tax. Okay.
Don't send them down here.
That's okay. I went over and visited them. I gave them your address. They're going to stop. But the point is, they'll talk about nationally, home prices are up, whatever. Well, I'll tell you what, go to Florida. It's falling apart. And there's more multifamily coming on the market in the Fort Myers area where I'm interested in. Right. Yeah. So it's a local thing. I wouldn't even go so far as say regional, because here in Wisconsin, our home values are still going up as well. And you can't find anybody that'll build a starter home for you. You can't find, because why should they? Most people who are in the starter home part of life can't afford a new starter home. Right?
Great point.
So this is, but then how, if you're going to benefit from owning assets in a generally inflationary environment, if you can't get on the merry-go-round and you wait a couple years, it's just going faster, right? And then they get left behind. And this is part of the problem that we're in now. It's a tough spot for people that are on the lower end.
But that's the rise of people like Mandati, though.
Yes.
Because it's like, okay, my only out is collectivism, where we can take from these rich white neighborhoods and but those people vote, man. I'm on the range yesterday. My son just needed a side, not yesterday, Saturday. My son was going, the last day of deer hunting was yesterday, and he was sighting in a rifle with some new ammo. And so we went where we never go, and that is this open to the public range right down the road here. And there's this father and son and mother, so it's a 3-member, and I hear these Yankee voices over here, and I'm like, oh boy. Like, yeah, we finally get to shoot our guns. We're in Tennessee now. And I'm like, I wanted to be like, get the hell out of here, because I mean, they're coming in, and if you own assets in Tennessee, that's looks good on the balance sheet, but if they start voting, that can all be erased.
It can be. Yep. Elections have consequences, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So this is, so to your point, you don't feel this. I don't feel this. It's people who don't have assets are like, they're probably down around like a 10 on this. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, let's ponder on that for a few minutes, right? I mean, if a person is down there, let's say, not great education, working what we might call an entry level job, right?
Mm-hmm.
But maybe doesn't really have what it takes to move up that ladder, right? That Mondami looks real good. And to an extent, I mean, can't blame them, right? Now we can
No, you
talk about
can't
you
blame
should
them.
work, you should work harder and all these, and I agree with all those things, but that's not going to change how they feel and then therefore how they vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John says the St. Louis Fed maintains a graph of debt service as a percent of U.S. GDP. We are approaching the all-time high, which was set in the late 1990s. First, do you agree with the debt service is more meaningful than the total debt? And what are the implications of historically high debt service for the average Joe or Jane?
Wow.
Great,
Good
great
question.
John.
Bring
Great
that one
question.
back up for me.
Absolutely.
My short-term memory isn't what it once was. So, debt service is more meaningful than total debt. Well, I'm going to turn that around a little bit, John, and not speak to you necessarily, but to everyone. When we purchase our homes, do we purchase the home price or the payment price? We
I know most
purchase.
people would say they purchase the payment price.
I did,
Mhm.
and I understand this stuff fairly well, right? But I knew
Mhm.
how much my monthly budget, how much I'd be comfortable with, and then I backed into a price from there. I think is the exact same thing to your point, John. So yes, I see the debt service is more meaningful than the total debt, and the ancillary to that is Trump's already put something in that's going to lower rates. That makes the debt service more affordable, right? So that's Trump's first time around. He talked about stock market all the time. Still does some. He talks about the bond market a lot, right? And that's because the bond market sets the rates that therefore then the government pays. And this is part of the problem when Yellen was Treasury Secretary. Don't ask me why. She financed a lot of short term debt, 2-year and 5-year notes. This was during COVID, post COVID, when rates were zero. Why wasn't everything financed for 30 years? There was even talk for a while of putting out a 50-year treasury and locking it in at like a quarter point. In what world does that not make sense? So, but they did what they did, and this is why you hear Trump's rolling us back into short-term debt. And he is. The treasuries being issued are almost entirely on the short end. 2-year, 5 years, and 10 years. All of them are being issued, but you look at the majority of them, it's on the short end. Well, that makes sense now because rates are higher, and the hope is that in 2 years or 5 years, those rates will be lower and we'll refinance the national debt at a lower rate. If you locked it in for 30 years at these rates, it'd be like, well, that's stupid, right? But that's also going to bring volatility to the treasury market as this constantly rolls over on a longer timeline. Okay. And to your second point, where the implications of historically high debt service for the average Joe, this is the out there part. Okay. I'm not saying this is going to happen or that it's imminent, but let's go to the way out there. And let's say that the federal government keeps issuing more treasuries, more debt to finance the government, more and more and more and more and more, to the point that it starts crowding out private debt. You can buy corporate bonds on XYZ company that pay whatever, and they're rated AAA or junk or what have you. Well, if I can go get a U.S. Treasury that pays a guaranteed 4.25, just to throw a number on it, and there's so much of that out there that now suddenly I can get a higher rate because the supply is higher, right? Maybe now I can get 5% there. And a corporation, say, let's just say it's a 10-year, a corporation is going to pay 5.5. Well, to make an extra half, why should I risk that corporation is going to go out of business when I know the government's going to print the money to make me whole?
Right.
That's the real threat to it as the national debt increases, is if it ever crowds out the private debt, then we have a real problem. That's not imminent. That's not happening. And that would be somewhere quite a ways down the road. But if we see even the start of that, that's a huge red flag.
Oh, excellent points.
Thank
Great
you.
question. Great response.
So now this is one that surprised me. This is from the New York Fed. Credit card balances versus credit limit. Look at that. Look at that pent
The
up
delta.
spending power, right?
Yeah.
And what to your point about adulting is perfect segue. This is people controlling their spending despite having that latitude there to go spend.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the contrarian side of that is if people felt good, they wouldn't be controlling themselves.
Exactly.
So it's a good thing from a responsible grown up thing, right? But it also makes me go, why are people controlling themselves so much?
Mm-hmm.
So now here's the next thing I think about. Do you use BNPL, brother?
BNPL? Oh, no, hell no.
Buy now, pay later?
No.
Yeah, me neither. Why not? Because we don't have to.
I don't need it. Yeah.
Right.
If I needed it, I would do it. I don't.
Of course. Right. But now let's think about, after I saw this chart, I went and looked. My credit limit on my cards has been increased a number of times in the last year. I didn't even notice. I don't care. I pay it off every month. Right.
Right. Same.
So is this part of the K shape? In other words, you guys like gold member, right? People have assets and good incomes. We got our credit card balances or our limits increased, and we don't care because we spend what we spend and we pay it all. Excuse me. And so I'm wondering if this is a little bit of the K-shaped economy. The high end is making all of this margin in there, and the low end is using BNPL. I mean, there's a reason Walmart brought BNPL. They're kicking a firm out. They're doing their own BNPL because they watched how much money a firm was making on it.
Yeah.
And they're bringing it in-house. So, it's a good thing that people are adulting, but is it just, if they raise Rich Brown's credit card limit to $3 million, you going to spend any more money?
No.
But that chart's going to be affected, right?
Yeah. I haven't ran a credit card balance in 15 years. I don't know.
Yeah. I haven't either.
Yeah,
right. So
thank God, right?
So it's, absolutely. I never want to go back to that.
Mm-hmm.
But so it makes me wonder, this chart looks good, but it makes me wonder if it's really another K-shaped economy type indicator.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
Yeah, but again, the social and political politics of a K-shaped economy, man, you get Mandani. It's just fertile ground for that shit.
Yep. All right. This is just a discussion of that chart. Nothing to really dig into. Electrical shortage. Okay. We've all heard about this with the AI centers, right? We don't need to read through all this and get into the numbers, but this is the part I want to get to. Is this the next Tennessee Valley Authority project? Is this, will there be a government incentives, mandates, what have you, reduction in regulation, reduction in environmental impact studies, and let's build some power plants. Let's catch up with China.
That's what we need to do, man.
Now that let's think that through, right? As investors, if that starts to happen, Caterpillar, John Deere, hashtag not financial uranium, right? There's another thorium, I think is a new one that I just heard about. So this is something to watch. If we start accelerating this, this will spur on the economy greatly. And this will, while it's in the big, long things of life, it's relatively temporary, right? It's not going to be, and building power plants doesn't go on forever. It takes 5 years, whatever it takes to build a power plant. But for a period of time, this would make the economy boom because you're seeing industrial jobs, you're seeing manufacturing jobs, you're seeing all these things. The other thing that will drive is inflation. Because you're going to, and so
in the short term, is what you're saying.
In the short term, yep. Because suddenly, when let's say Caterpillar, John Deere, construction jobs at these sites, they need more people, right? How do you get more people to go to work there? You raise the wages, right? Right, wrong, or indifferent. We have fewer people in the country now because of deportations. So you raise those wages, you're going to see inflation. Inflation is, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it is. Okay. But you're going to see that inflation. that means asset prices are going to go up even more.
Well, if you don't want to build these 44 nuclear power plants like we probably should, and that's probably a minimum requirement for what's coming. Look at Germany.
Yeah.
I mean, my God, what the hell were they thinking? Shut down their nuclear power for coal and natural gas and shit that you don't have, that you gotta buy from somewhere else. It is the stupidest move. Or renewable green energy. It's not.
Yeah.
No, that's insane. That's suicide.
Yep.
And then you bring in millions of undocumented military age Muslims. How's that working out? It's just a recipe for how to destroy a once great country.
And it's working.
And it's working.
So, not on this one, and don't go there yet. When we go to the next chart, I want to just wait and watch you process the chart after this one. Okay.
God.
All right. So this is U.S. data center build-out status by year of construction or planning in gigawatts of capacity. That's a bubble.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Now that said, notice a lot of that is planned. Okay. And you notice look at the part that's planned versus the part that's underway.
Oof.
This is where the TVA thing comes in, right? My corollary there. Okay.
For those of you who don't know, because I'm from Tennessee, so Tennessee Valley Authority was a massive project. I think it was it under Roosevelt?
Yeah, well,
during the Depression.
Yep.
Who dammed up all these rivers and created hydroelectric power and really brought Southern Appalachia into its own and really powered the Manhattan Project as well in Oak Ridge. So it was a fantastic thing for everybody.
Yep. So this is if we see some sort of a build like that, you're going to see a huge boom in these construction, manufacturing, infrastructure type things, because you're going to build, these plants. You're going to need more roads to do it. You're going to need railroads to haul stuff in. This will be far reaching. And this is part of the whole infrastructure.
I mean, Tennessee wouldn't be what it is today without it. We would have never been able to enrich the uranium without the energy of that. So again, the planning that had to go into place for us to reap the benefit of it during World War II was fantastic.
Okay. Now let's think about that. So they built the infrastructure. Was all the infrastructure built by the TVA needed necessarily at that time?
No.
Okay. Go to the next chart. I want you to process that one.
Millions of miles of fiber in the USA. Just 2.6. Merrill Lynch estimates it's just 2.6. When was this chart put together? Because this is projected for 2005. Is that what I'm reading right?
Yeah, you're reading it right. What happened with .com bubble, right?
Oh, yeah.
But that capacity sat there until the world and the technology caught up.
That's right. Wow.
So is that, and this is my question, I don't know the answer, is that where we are with power production and AI? Is this the bubble is in the mechanics, the inner working, the infrastructure, if you will, of it? But the stock market has gone bubblish because humans, right?
Yeah.
Does it rhyme? And I don't know the answer to that. I'm still pondering that.
I think so.
Because if it rhymes, we've seen this game before and we know what to do.
Yes. There's a way
now,
to
bear in mind, after the .com bubble crashed, the NASDAQ went down 80%. So, okay, it wasn't, I mean, we look back now and go, oh yeah, it was a bubble, but it went down 80%, right? So I'm not making light of this, but can we look at the bigger picture and say, okay, I believe AI is the future. I was using it a bunch last night to come up with a trading strategy. It wrote the spreadsheets for me for this. It's incredible. Okay.
Yes.
But has the stock market run too far, too fast for what's really there?
Yeah.
I think so.
I'm reading a book right now. Speaking of AI, it's terrifying. It's called "If Anyone Builds It, Everyone Dies," and it's written by a couple of artificial intelligence engineers, and it's like, I mean, pretty much doom and gloom with what it's going to do and how it's going to do it. And there's some ways, it helps you think through some of these things. And as amazing as it is now, it may become a dragon at some point.
Yeah.
But definitely a good book if you're interested in that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
I'll check that one out. So this is, that's just a little historical perspective. Okay.
Great point.
Back to our bonds stuff here. Investors now have the smallest allocation to US bonds since the run up of the global financial crisis. So this is inside their investment accounts. Okay. So people, it's like, why should I be in bonds making 4%? Stock market was up 20, right? And we're seeing this out there. I'm seeing it like in, you know, uh, discussions online, especially younger people, like, why would I be in bonds? Well, if it's not in the bonds, where is it? It's in the stock market
Mhm.
or it's in Bitcoin or what have you. And back to our discussion, stock market bubble-ish. At some point, something's going to happen, right?
Mhm.
So
Can't be
then what?
20% for everybody.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So this is an indicator of investors' appetite for risk. And
Mhm.
this would all what this is telling me is people are getting, too optimistic, too much buy the dip. Every time it goes down, just keep buying and it'll go up. And they're right until
For
they're
a
not.
while. Until they're
Exactly.
not.
Now,
Exactly. Yeah.
again, it's going to take some sort of a catalyst. Something's going to have to happen. If the world just keeps chugging along and they keep printing money for stuff, stock market will keep chugging along till
Well, they're
something
calling,
happens.
what is the new name for CDOs?
Uh, um, that actually CDO is the new one. Credit default obligation versus the old one
Oh,
was credit default swaps
okay. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
CLOs. Um,
CLO. Collateralized loan
Collateralized
obligation.
loan obligations. Yeah. Yep.
And I'm
So,
telling you, when the rates go back down, we could see it go sideways again.
yep, absolutely. So it will happen at some point. I don't think it's imminent, especially in the first half of this year. And this, of course, if something happens, geopolitics, whatever, that changes everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the way things are right now, yeah, I don't really see anything changing. Right. And Trump's going to do everything he can to fight it. I found this chart very interesting. This is from Fidelity. So if we look at the bottom, you've got, the stock market goes in cycles. We know this,
All the
right?
way back to
Business cycle.
1945.
Yeah. So this is not some cherry picked data. And we can look at that sine wave, and then you see the red line there for the market cycles. You see your big secular wave, and then you have your market cycle that bounces up and down around that. And look how well that correlates with the S&P 500 return going back to 1945.
Mm-hmm.
So again, does this mean it's imminent? I mean, from where we are now, there on the right, I mean, you could make an argument. You got another couple years left before we really start down,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that ties in with, next presidential election, fourth turning, all those things, right? So just a big picture, when in doubt, zoom out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I found this one very interesting for that reason. So,
That's fantastic.
usually what you will see, and if you look at this chart overall, what you see at the tops, look at the first one there around 1965, right?
Let's see
Um,
that.
so you look at the red line. So you got this smoothed out blue line.
Yep,
Look at
I
the
see
red
it.
line right around 65, 70.
Mm-hmm.
And then look at it again, 95 to 2000. It's volatility.
Very volatile.
Okay. That is typically your sentiment indicator that you're at a top or a bottom. When the market can't figure out what it wants to do,
Mm-hmm.
that's a topping or bottoming indicator. You will typically see less volatility at the bottom, although you do see it around 2010. You'll typically it's tough when you go back and look at like 80 or 1950 because there wasn't the retail investment in the
Yeah.
stock market. But there was more so in 2010, and then you saw that volatility there, right? And the time to buy the stock market at a bottom of something like this is when nobody wants to talk about stocks. Nobody wants to be like, hey, how much NVIDIA do you have?
Yeah.
Nobody even wants to talk about it. That's when you want to buy.
At your bottom,
Okay.
huh?
I mean, in the 80s.
What about when your bellhop is giving you stock tips?
Or the shoe shine boy?
Yeah.
Right.
And you better get out of it quick.
Exactly. And so this is something to keep in mind. Back in the 80s, back when big places like Merrill Lynch used to cold call like they had phone banks of people, right? And they would cold call Rich Brown. Hey, do you want to put some money in XYZ stock? Back in the 80s, I mean, you couldn't get anybody to answer the phone. Hey, I'm from Merrill. Click, right? Nobody wanted to touch it. That's when you want to start buying. Okay. So now, obviously, we're at the other end of this. We've had a huge run up since 2010, all these economic tailwinds, blah, 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 all these things we know. Start looking for volatility, guys. And when that volatility happens, there's your topping indicator. So,
this is an outstanding chart, man. One of the best you've ever come up with. So,
well, I didn't come up with it.
Well, I know you did, but you
it,
found it and you put it in front of us, and that's what I'm talking about.
So, yeah, watch for volatility. So,
Ryan says, "Got to go, man. Both parts of the session were very educational. That's mostly what I came here for. The commentary and humor is great too. May we all have a great 2026, man. Thank you so much.
Happy New Year,
being on, Brian.
Let's go and crush this. So, this is me also kind of hitting you up cold for something here too, for some shows going forward. The first one I want to talk about is AI affecting white collar, like NAFTA / globalization did to the blue collar.
It's going to kill white collar jobs.
Sure is. Yep. But what are we seeing? I think this is part of the reason Trump is pushing so hard for the reindustrialization and all these things.
Absolutely.
You know, but we need to be ready for this paradigm shift, because this is, I mean, for decades, go to college, be successful. Check, done. Right.
Yeah, but not anymore, buddy.
Not anymore. Yep.
Nope.
Try to find an HVAC guy.
It's a waste of money. Oh yeah.
Yep. I mean, last time I needed somebody out for a job I didn't want to tackle, it was 2.5 weeks to get somebody out here. It wasn't an emergency, and I told them I wasn't in a hurry. But it took quite a while out here, and it was not cheap. And I am certifiably cheap. So, but I paid the money because I didn't want to tackle that particular project. So, the next one I want to talk to you about is I'd like to do, if you're okay with it, I want to talk about stock options.
Absolutely.
Calls and puts. And
I know nothing about it.
I got into it a couple years ago, and I trade some I trade some options for fun. I use it as gambling. It's very volatile. I mean, I rarely do this, guys. I'm gonna tell you one of my numbers. Last July, I bought the option to buy SLV at 55 a share for March of 2026. Last I looked, it's up 2,600% in that period of time.
Wow.
And full disclosure, it's a 3-digit number I put in there. Okay. I didn't put like $40,000 in there. Okay.
Yeah. I bet you wish you had.
Yeah, but coulda, woulda, shoulda, right?
Yeah.
But really, we're going to start off. We'll talk about options and how they work and what they are and what they are not. But then I want to talk about using them as we go back. If we look at that fidelity chart, if we're in a topping thing, if something terrible happens in the world, using options in a way that you want to lose money on them. And let me put it this way: you got homeowners insurance, brother?
Of course, yeah.
Well, did your house burn down last year?
No.
That was stupid. Why are you doing it this year? Right? It's insurance.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, so
because it's a possibility. It may not be a probability this year, but it's a possibility, right?
Absolutely. So you invest, if you will, a little bit of money to ensure a big number.
Yep.
Right. So a person, $2,000 for their homeowner's policy. And if the $300,000 house burns down, insurance company supposedly comes in and cuts a check for $300,000 and you build a house, right? That's an option. And that's a way to use an option in the stock market. So and we'll walk through that. I don't want to get too much in the weeds with this, but you can, and this is what I'm doing. So, and I'll show you what I'm doing when we get to that part, probably about 3 shows in to this, using options on inverse levered ETFs.
I can't wait.
So this is I put a small amount of money in there each quarter, and we'll talk about why I do that when we get to that part. And I hope I lose all that money because that means everything else is done very well.
Good point.
So,
And
but
no,
I
and
can
guess what?
by using a very small portion of the portfolio into that each quarter, I can offset about a 12% downside in the overall portfolio.
Mhm.
So if something pops up now, if the market goes down 20%, I'm still going to lose money, right?
Mhm.
But it's only going to be 8%, not 20%. And this is the hedging side of risk management. And as I get older, it's more about risk management than maximizing returns. And if
Yes.
you think about it, that's all insurance is. We're managing risk,
True.
right? And we've spoken about this before. You own your home outright. I have a mortgage. I have to have insurance because the mortgage company says if you want a mortgage, you have to have it.
Mhm.
Well, you have a choice not to, yet you still choose to because it is the prudent thing to do, right? And
100%.
it's a good choice. But we all hope we never make a claim. But if I put that same thing out to most people in the stock market, they're like, "Oh, I don't want to. No, I don't want to risk. I don't want to lose that."
Mhm.
Right? So it's all about that risk management. So we'll dig into that. That'll take about 3 shows to really get in the weeds. And that first, we got to talk about how options work. And you'll hear, well, they're leveraged up. You can lose a lot of money. You can with certain types. Okay. And you can lose a lot of money, especially if you get into doing weird stuff, which I do not do. I stay away from it because I understand the part of the options market that I play in. And I
Mhm.
don't understand some of those other ones. In fact, last night I was going through some and there's, iron condors and butterflies and diagonal straddles and all this stuff. And I want, no, I'm good with what I got. So
Well,
man's got to know his limitations.
amen. But that speaks to kind of, and I'm going to go back one slide here. Don,
Yeah.
this speaks to Don's point here. Unlike in distant past, though, our ability to communicate and trade in nanoseconds changes the timing of downturns. Unlike back then, when the news took time to get out and then analysts had to do their things, and now news breaks and algorithms do what they are programmed to do immediately. It's like standing on a trap door of the gallows. The bottom can drop out instantly. Retail investors can't react fast enough to avoid getting bruised, which is why asset allocation is so damn important.
Yeah, bring that back up. I want to talk. That is an awesome point, Don.
It sure as hell is.
We knew we kept you around here for something. Um, so let's talk about the communicate in nanoseconds. Not only is it the communication in nanoseconds, but the algorithms that the big firms are using constantly scan the headlines to look for something. And that's
Mhm.
just day to day variations in the market, much less something catastrophic happening in the world, right? The other part of that is the retail investor part here towards the end of that comment. So if you use a platform where you trade for free, that's called order for flow. And what happens is you will execute your trade on Robinhood, and I use them because I know they do this. They sell that order flow off to JP Morgan, Citibank, Bank of America. They can watch what retail is doing and they will play either with you or against you.
Mhm.
And that is completely legal. It's on page 82 of the document you spun through and hit I agree and then submit. And that's how they make money on free trades. That's how they can afford it. Because I can remember, gosh, I mean, when the internet was brand new back in the late 90s, I can remember I had an IRA with it doesn't matter which one of the big guys, and it was $50 a trade.
Oh,
And
wow.
I remember my advisor back then telling me, well, that's why you always want to buy a stock that's at least $50 a share. So it only has to go up $1 a share for you to be back to break even after the cost of the trade. Now they're free. And you
Right.
can execute them bing, bing, bang, right?
Mhm.
They're still getting paid.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They didn't go live in a shack in Venezuela and put JP Morgan across it, right? They still got big
Mhm.
buildings to pay for. And they're paying for it off your order flow.
Yeah, excellent point, Don, and excellent analysis again. So this kind of concludes the show. 2 hours. I knew it was going to take us a while to get through a lot of the stuff that you had been tracking while you were away, Will. And once again, this is a great meme. But also this one here, I found this one this morning, Will, and
I love that.
Yeah, I love that. The rugged individualism and the warm collectivism, buddy. That is it in a nutshell.
That's it. And the last I heard, they never found that guy. So
I don't know if that means he got vanished or he just kept his head low. I don't know.
Yeah, don't know. But that is, that is the individual standing up to the collective. And sadly, right now, especially in the bigger cities, we see which way that's going. And we talked a little bit about, the understanding. I understand why some people see that as the way to go. I mean, I don't agree with it, but I can understand it.
My brother has a great point. We were talking about this yesterday after church, and I tell you what, if you're not in a place of worship, I highly encourage you, man. I am surrounded by lions every Sunday morning, and I love it. But anyway, Jeff was saying, and I think we've talked about it loosely. If 51% of your money coming into your house a year is coming from the government, and in the form of some sort of social safety net, you shouldn't get to vote. Because collectivism runs a freaking muck. It does.
Yep. I mean, it's real easy to say, do this or do that. If I'm talking about the Brown household, because I don't have any skin in that game, right? Well, you should be doing this. You should put an addition on the house. Well, if I don't have to pay for it, it's real easy to have that opinion. Start stroking checks and let me know how you feel.
I know it's like, well, but then they won't, but then they'll have to go get a job if they want to vote. Right. And it works out well for everything.
Yeah. And I can see the slippery slope because it's, you have to pay some taxes to be able to vote. Well, that's a slippery slope because then the next person comes in and says you have to pay at least this much in taxes, right?
Yeah.
But there's got to be something. There's got to be an improvement in the way we're doing things. There has to be.
Yeah.
So I don't have that magic wand, unfortunately, to know what the right thing is. So, man, I really want that one to be true about Maduro. I really want that to be true.
Yeah. Really. Well, that's all I got, Will. And whenever you're ready, sir, feel free to take us out.
First, thank you. I am thrilled to be back. This was a lot of fun. I hope people got something out of it. I miss doing the show. I'm out next week for a family vacation, but we should be good after that, at least through February. And guys, we can see it out there in many ways. The fight is coming. Be ready.